Okay everyone, welcome back to part 3 of our Long Dark tutorial series. Yes, you join me upstairs in Camp Office. So we're still in Camp Office where we left the end of the last video, but I've come upstairs, basically. Look at that, it's a nice view, that's why I've come up here. With Wintermute, they really did go to town on the redecoration of the various buildings, and it looks pretty cool now. So yeah, what we're going to talk about today is the survival metrics and what you actually have to do to survive. So relatively short and simple, this one, but we're going to talk about these 4 things here. So let's bring up the status menu so I don't have to hold the spacebar down, and that is the 4 survival metrics here, and the temperature, of course, and the conditions. So these all sort of work together, and this is what you have to balance in order to survive. Basically, these 4 things here are your key survival factors. So I'm calling them survival metrics, which is something I've just made up. But these are your 4 main survival factors. So you've got your temperature. So this is how warm or cold you are. Your tiredness level, so basically how fatigued you are. Your thirst level, how thirsty you are. And your hunger level, which is how hungry you are, how many calories you have on board. The 2 linked together. And obviously down here is the temperature, which we'll talk about in a minute, and your overall condition. Now these 4 here are what affect your condition. So you need to keep all of these up in the white. You need to keep these bars full. If any of them drop into the red at the bottom, if they all turn red, basically it will start to affect your condition. So at the moment, this the thirst bar here, parched, has gone red, which is indicating that we are very, very, very thirsty, but this itself has not gone red yet, which means it's not started to affect our condition, but that will go red very shortly, and when it does, our condition will start to drop. So that's basically how these 4 things work. You need to keep them all up in the white. However, it's a bit of a game of balance, because ultimately you have got to keep your supplies, you've got to manage your resources. So you can't just eat and drink constantly to keep your level right the way up to the top, because you'll run out of food and water very, very quickly. So what you need to do is kind of balance your resources a little bit. So accept that occasionally these are going to drop into the red and start to affect your condition. Particularly if you're exploring, if you've got a long walk or something like that. However, that's fine so long as your condition doesn't drop too far, because you can build them back up again and build your condition back up again. So there we go, we're now dehydrated, the thirst bar's gone red, and it will now start to cause our condition to drop. Each one of these affects that condition drop slightly differently. Freezing, yeah, okay. The temperature one, when this drops down into freezing, your condition will start to drop quite quickly. Not massively quickly, but it will start to drop. But you also develop a risk of hypothermia. If you stay in the cold for too long, you can develop hypothermia. And that then will cause a massive drop of your condition very, very quickly until you get that sorted out. So that one is one to be wary of. Don't let that drop into freezing for too long. That's kind of the exception to that rule. Don't let that one drop into the red for too long. If the hypothermia affliction comes up, if it's in the red and that comes up, it's fine as long as you get out of the cold fairly quickly before hypothermia develops. So it's a bit of a balancing act, that one. In order to keep this one up, you basically need to stay warm. You need to get out of the freezing cold, keep your temperature above 0. You'll have noticed these little white arrows here. These indicate what's happening to these bars. If there's a little down arrow, it basically means that it's decreasing. If there's 2, it means it's decreasing a bit quicker. If there's 3, it means it's decreasing very quickly. And of course, the opposite is also true. If the arrow is pointing upwards, it means it's increasing. So in order to keep your warmth level up, you need to stay out of the cold. So if you're at 0 degrees or above, you'll be absolutely fine. If you're at minus temperatures, this will start to drop. And eventually when it gets to the bottom, that's when you develop the hypothermia risk. So in order to keep yourself warm, get indoors, light a fire, carry a lit torch around with you, something like that to keep your temperature up. And of course you can also wear more layers of clothing if you've got them, which will stop you from getting quite so cold by affecting your temperature. Do you know what? This is all bollocks. I'm going to start it again. Hello everyone, welcome to part number 3 of our Long Dark tutorial series. Yes, you join me upstairs in camp office, and today we're going to be having a look at the survival factors, the various different things that you need to keep on top of in order to survive, and that is these 4 things down here. So that's what we're going to have a quick look at today. So let me bring up the status menu just so that I can show you these in a bit more detail. So these are the key survival factors that you need to keep an eye on in order to survive. You can see the 4 of them. You've got your temperature, which is this one, your fatigue level, which is this one, your thirst level, which is this one, and your hunger level, which is this combined with your calorie level. Yep, so that's all that together. And obviously the temperature down here affects your temperature up here, and this is your overall condition. And these 4 together combine to affect your overall condition. So each one of these metrics, each one of these factors has a different effect on your health and a different effect on your condition. What you need to try and do is aim to keep them all in the white. As long as they're white, all is good. If they go red, you're in real trouble, because it means that you have dropped off the bottom of the particular level of the particular factor, and it's going to start affecting your condition. So long as it's white, it won't have any effect on your condition. If it goes red, your condition will start to drop. So if any of these factors are red, your condition will start to drop. If they're all red, it will start to drop very quickly because they all combine together. Each one of them has a different effect on your condition. If you're dehydrated, that will drop your condition quite quickly, certainly a lot quicker than hunger will. If you're fatigued, that will also drop your condition fairly quickly, but that one also has other effects, which we'll talk about in a minute. And if you're really cold, that will drop your condition fairly quickly, but it will also give you the risk of developing various afflictions. So the general aim is to keep these white. However, it is a bit of a balancing act because, again, you've got to manage your resources, and part of that resource management skill is knowing when you can let these drop into the red, allow your condition to drop a bit, and then recover it later in order to preserve your resources, particularly if you're exploring or you're travelling a long distance. For example, if you're travelling a long way, you can actually let your hunger bar drop into the red quite comfortably. Your condition will drop, and it could drop as low as 60%. However, all you need to do is eat some food. That condition drop will stop. If you then sleep, your condition will come back up again. So you can balance it a little bit. So you don't always have to keep it up in the white. It's part of your resource management. Allow it to drop into the red, take that condition hit, then build it back up again. Just allows you to save on some of your resources. However, you probably don't want to do that one too much with your thirst level, because that drops your condition a bit quicker. So I always tend to try and keep that one up in the white. So keep them in the white. If you see these little arrows mean that do you know what? I'm just talking bollocks, aren't I? Let's try again. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Long Dark. Yes, this is part 3 in our tutorial series, and today we're going to be having a look at the factors you need to survive. Yes, these are the 4 key factors that you need to keep yourself alive in the game. These are the ones that you need to keep in the white. Don't let them go red like I have, as you can see at the bottom. So let's bring up these 4 metrics. These are the 4. And we'll bring up the status menu so you can see them a bit more clearly. So each one of these is a different factor that you need to look after in order to prevent your condition from dropping. Of course, if your condition drops, you die if it gets to 0. So each one of these affects your condition. That is your overall current condition. The 4 of them are temperature. This is your feels like temperature that has an effect on this. As you can see down here, air temperature, wind chill, clothing bonus, all comes together to bring you your feels like temperature, which we'll talk about in a sec, and that's what affects your temperature bar. Your fatigue bar, as you do things, as you walk around, as you do crafting, as you do anything, your fatigue level will go down. When it goes into the red, you'll get very, very tired and you will not be able to sprint. You'll walk more slowly, you won't be able to carry as much, and eventually you'll basically grind to a complete standstill until you sleep. So that's your fatigue bar. Your thirst bar, and obviously when you become dehydrated, your condition will start to drop, and it drops reasonably quickly, so you need to keep drinking to keep that up in the white. That's particularly important if you're doing a time-lapse activity like sleeping, because it drops it so quickly you may even die during that time-lapse activity if you allow it to drop into the red, so you need to be a bit careful with that one. And your hunger bar. Your hunger bar obviously relates to the number of calories that you have on board. You get calories from eating food, and you burn calories for activities that you do. So as you're walking around, as you're crafting again, like the tiredness bar, you use up calories. You also use calories whilst you're sleeping. So when your hunger bar gets to the bottom, obviously you get hungry, and that will start to lower your condition as well. So they all, if they hit the red, all of them will have an effect on you that's negative, and they'll also all cause you to lose condition. So what do you need to do to stop that from happening for each one of these? Well, for your temperature bar, that's quite straightforward. You need to keep yourself warm. Keep yourself at freezing or above, and the bar will stay where it is. If you're above freezing, it will go up until it gets to the top. So that's basically how you keep your temperature bar in the white. You keep yourself warm. It's all to do with this temperature here, and it is all to do with your feels like temperature. When you go outside, you might hit air temperatures of -20, and you may hit wind chill of -5, which will give a combined overall outside temperature of -25. You may have clothing bonuses which add up to -20. If that's the case, to 20 rather, not -20. If that's the case, that clothing bonus will cancel out 20 of that outside negative air temperature. So if you have an outside air temperature of -25 and a clothing bonus of 20, the feels like temperature is actually -5. And that is quite good, because that means that this bar will drop, but it will drop fairly slowly if it's only -5, and you're only going to have a problem when it gets into the red. So if you're out exploring, you're out walking, get some thick clothes on. Aim to have lots of layers of thick clothes, give yourself maximum warmth bonus, and that will give you good temperature resistance, so that you won't get so cold so quickly. And also, of course, in order to get that bar back up again, if it does drop into the red, stand by a fire, go indoors, light a stove, anything that's hot, anything that's warm. You can also eat hot food. You can cook food and eat that food hot. That will give you a real boost of your warmth, get that bar right back up to the white again, and that also gives you a warmth bonus, which means you won't go so cold so quickly. So that's how you keep the warmth bonus up at the top. The fatigue bonus, again, you get fatigued whenever you're doing anything, so that's pretty much unavoidable. There's nothing you can do to stop that from happening. But obviously, in order to get that bar back up again when it does drop into the red, you sleep. Simple as that. You sleep. When you sleep, your fatigue level goes back up again, or your tiredness level goes down, your fatigueness goes down, the bar goes white, and you recover your energy. So that's the only way of doing that one. It's unavoidable for that to drop. That will always be dropping, but you will be able to get it back up by sleeping. Simple as that. Your dehydration one, again, is fairly straightforward. You drink. Drink water, drink soda, drink any liquid, and that will bring your dehydration level up, your thirst level up, and bring it back out of the red and back into the white. And the same really goes with your hunger meter. You eat food. It's where part of that resource management comes in. If it's in the red, it'll have a bit of an effect on your condition. But as you can see, I've been dehydrated for the whole of this video, and it's not dropped a massive amount. And the same goes with hunger. So if it does drop into the red, don't worry too much about it, but don't sleep with any of these red. If you sleep with any of these red, your condition will drop quite a lot. So how do you get your condition back up if it does drop? Well, it's simple. You sleep with all of these in the white. So long as all of these are up and they're all white and the bars are all full, when you sleep, your condition will recover. So that's all there is to it, really. That is what you have to do to stay alive in the long dark. You basically keep all of these in the white, keep your condition up, and all will be good. Simple, hey? Well, actually, no. It's all about resource management and sort of making sure you can do that. The resources you need to do this are not that plentiful, so you need to balance those resources. Staying in the warm is fairly easy as long as you're not on forlorn muskeg, in which case, well, there is nowhere to go in shelter, so you have to have materials to build and light fires. If you run out of sticks and you run out of firewood, you can't light a fire. Therefore, you can't get warm. Therefore, you'll get frostbite, hypothermia, and you will die. Fatigue. Well, that's great, but if you try and go to sleep in the open air, a wolf may well come along and rip your head off in the middle of the night. So you may find that you can't sleep that easily. And if you forget to take your bedroll with you and you can't find a bed, well, you're stuffed. You can't sleep, so your fatigue level will drop and drop and drop and drop to the point where you literally will drop down on the floor dead. Thirst level, that's fairly self-explanatory. That's quite easy to come by. You can get water by melting snow on a fire. But again, if you haven't got fire starting materials, well, again, you can't melt snow, you can't make water. So that's not so easy either. And food. Food is actually one of the hardest things to come by in the long dark. Once you run out of food supplies, you need to hunt, you need to find deer, you need to harvest materials in order to find food. If you can't, eventually you will starve to death. It does take a little while, but it will happen. So that is simply how the survival metrics in the game work. Keep them all in the white and you will survive. Let them drop into the red, your condition will drop. Bring them back up again, you'll be fine. But if you can't bring them back up again because you haven't got the right resources, well, that's when you're going to find yourself in a spot of bother. And the other problem, of course, is if you're out and about and you've taken the risk of allowing them to drop and you get attacked by something, that will have a real hit on your condition, and then you'll find you can't recover very easily as well. So it's all about managing these 4 factors. So that's all there is to it. The one little thing that I will say, you can see these little arrows on here. If those arrows are going down, it means that particular level is dropping. And if it's going up, it means it's improving. And the more arrows there are, the quicker it's happening. So that's all there is to it, really. Keeping an eye on all of that, keeping it all balanced, that's what will allow you to grow your condition, get your condition back up, and keep it there with your food, your drink, your sleep, and keeping yourself warm. So that is it for this one, nice and short and simple. Next time round we're going to have a look at the clothing system, which is a little bit more complicated, but we'll go through it. It's going to be a little hard for me to show you though, because I haven't actually got any clothes, so I may need to go and find some clothes before we can do the clothing system. But right now I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this tutorial series has been useful for you. If you've got any questions, anything you need clarifying, if I've been a bit too quick for you, because I know I have a tendency to ramble, please do drop it in the comments below and I will answer those questions for you. Any guidance, any advice you need, let me know. I'm more than happy to help you. So I'm going to say, as always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I shall see you again very, very soon.